Hello and welcome everybody, my name is Severin and thank you for listening again. Like every 2 weeks I'm speaking about the full moon and the new moon and exploring the energies really with you, how they are affecting ourselves but also the collective. And today we're speaking about the full moon in Leo on the 28th of January 2021, and this full moon in my eyes is a really potent one, is a forceful one, is a one that wakes us up because there's a lot of Uranian energy, but also there's a part in us that really can start to listen to what is true for us and staying centered in our heart and taking care of our own boundaries. So that's really what I want to explore with you. I'm calling it the next step. It sounds so big, but actually it's really small, and that's why it's so powerful, and that's what I want to share with you in this exploration together of this full moon. So let me paint a little picture for you what we're going to dive into. One is the Aquarian energy, of course, because there's so many planets in Aquarius right now. We have Saturn, Sun, Jupiter, Mercury. Mercury is turning retrograde in 2 days, and so we'll stay for the next 3 weeks in Aquarius. But then we have also Venus joining by next month in February. We have the moon within almost like a little bit less than 14 days also coming into Aquarius. So there's a lot of Aquarian energy, and that simply invites us to think differently, see it from a different perspective, even take ourselves not so serious or not so attached to our personality, and that gives us room for seeing things in a new light and having new ideas and going in a new direction. And when we have, like right now, the moon in Leo, then it really gives us that push of feeling what's truly alive for us. What do we feel that is alive for us and that's true for us, and what then is actually necessary to step into? And then on top of that, the solution really comes because it's squared by Mars and the Uranian energy in Taurus. So it really helps us then to take action, but not just from jumping, and that might be for some people of you who are already quite airy, that you're feeling the new possibility and you just want to jump there directly. It's like, okay, I'm just dropping everything and I'm just going there. Or you have the other when you're very earthy, like, oh, I don't like change, I'm worried, I'm scared, like I don't want to, dissolve like my current situation, or what if the reaction of others will be not good, how do I gonna be going into that? So you see, there are different ways of reacting to that, but nevertheless Aquarius is inviting us to move on. How do we move on? By the Taurus energy. We are consistently and persistently, stubbornly driving into the direction that we feel we need to go to. And that's a relentlessness that we are having here as a solution, where we are not just like feeling for ourselves and running there or not taking action. We have to include the other, or we have to also take small steps, and we have to share where we're at in order to get where we really want. So what then also comes into the picture, and I will go back to this main structure here and also into the notes, but what comes in really is the healing energy of Chiron. You see, it's trining the moon, and here we have a sextile to the sun. Chiron is the wounded healer. And when we have a wound, which refers to Chiron, it's actually not a wound that you just, put a pill in your mouth and then the wound is healed and everything is fine. The wounded healer is much more a wound that you cannot heal. And then we could say, well, the pain is continuously there and it hurts, but actually it's a voice that invites us to really feel and listen where we haven't taken care of ourselves. Where are there boundaries that we are still hurting ourselves by trying to function or please, or to just move on, or to not be in touch with ourselves really, and to then feel, how do we have to take better self-care? How do we bring in self-love and honoring of what is necessary for us? And that with this full moon is really highlighted, because we are in touch with ourselves. We can see where we want to go, but we are feeling also what's in the way. Where is the pain, And that means like, well, it's not just the grand vision that brings us far away of how everything will be in a better world and everything's going to be fine and good, and we just have to take like all these changes into our lives. It's like, no, there's one step, one little step. And that is in our way, and maybe that needs to be worked on persistently, slowly. We really have to reconfirm how we actually not have been communicating, what we have been not sharing, where we have been avoiding ourselves, where we have been maybe guilt, maybe pain came up, maybe shame, and that's more the Pluto then playing in. Or we feel just very excited and we already want to be there, and there is an impatience in us and we can't wait to move on, but we are not including the necessary steps around us to really go there gradually. So that's this Chiron, that it really is a really beautiful way of healing right now and seeing how we are involved and how that pain is actually there to grow. Then another part is this Neptune sextiling Venus and Pluto in Capricorn. So whenever we have whenever we have Neptune involved, is this energy of bringing gentleness, of bringing forgiveness and dissolution into the area. And when we have Pluto and Venus together, this is a very powerful conjunction. You could say it's this extreme lovers, or we could even say it's this kind of tendency where you are behaving with each other like out of dependency. So there have been so much love that you now depend on each other. So it can be both. So there can be a very beautiful expression of like a lot of tenderness, of healing, of gentleness in your relationship, a lot of love and sexuality. And from that comes a new kind of sense of like what is true for you, what do you feel you want to envision, and how do you bring that change in the outer. Or it can be that you're realizing that you're in a very dependent relationship where things simply are working extremely well and you're functioning fantastically, but actually it's destructive for your own individuation, your own personal process, and you have to take actions, and that healing pain that's there is necessary to bring up change in that direction. So again, it's coming back, all this Uranian energy here, which gives us the capacity to step back and take actually, like see the bigger picture and not take ourselves so, like identify so much with our personality. This is really the main energy from Aquarius that brings so much change into our lives. And that simply means then that we can actually understand or acknowledge that things are much more complex than we think. And there's always like, there's not just black and white, there's not just right and wrong, there's much more diversity, there's much more complexity, and there's much more, you could say, paradoxical nature in ourselves. And from that place, there comes a willingness to open up, to not know, to stand into the unknown, to kind of recognize both perspectives, to see that both is true, and we don't know right now, and things actually arise out of the moment. And from that comes such a spontaneity and availability and aliveness for what's true for us, and not even maybe for tomorrow or for our lives, but for right now, that we're suddenly much more in touch with ourselves. There's much more a spontaneity, and from that comes that huge power to take the next step. Just that one step that actually limits us and brings pain up, and we can bring healing into our lives. So that's a really beautiful and powerful full moon in my eyes. I'm actually very grateful what's happening right now. It also brings a lot of energy where people are realizing that they need to change, that they are the factor that needs to change. And that doesn't mean that they can act into the world, but they need to be the source of change. So we at the Hermitage here in Guatemala at Lake Atitlan, we have a lot of requests right now for retreats. Like so many people want to explore and understand themselves better, go within and look at themselves. We are completely full for the next 3 months, which is beautiful. If the airport stays open, nobody knows. But just this interest for self-inquiry is highlighted. People want to go into retreats. They're looking within themselves to really understand how they function and what is really coming to a place also, like with the nodes, which I have explored before with you. The South Node is in Sagittarius. So there's too much of this belief system, too much of an ideology, too much of a belonging to a certain direction or an ism. And really then we're having this push into a disidentification, a this kind of this letting go, really, where we can say, well, the more we are arriving in our heart, which is anyway a lifetime's journey, it's said it's the longest journey from the mind to the heart, so it's not just, it's always there, but this is this deconditioning process where we're coming more and more to a place where actually we have to look within ourselves, and from there everything around us is changing. And that Uranian energy for stepping into what that change means for us is really, really being highlighted. And at the same time, because we are still with Pluto in Capricorn, there is a system, an establishment, a tradition, an economy that is hungry for power, for maintaining the money or the cash flow that has been happening, and is fearing the innovation that's coming, that is trying everything to hold on to not make that happen. So as much excitement on a personal level, perhaps there's also as much fear there, and that's where Aquarius comes in, where both extremes are alive, and we feel one day, or even within a moment, in an hour, we feel so happy and then so scared. And it makes us just really alive. And that then makes us realizing that we are neither or, like both is really alive in us, and that we have to actually express what's true for us, because who knows when there is the end, like who knows when we are dying, because everything is lived out in this very moment. And that's then where the Gemini energy is inviting us to live more from that heartfelt presence and bringing in what's true for us. And at the same time, when we're feeling fear and pain and struggle, that we're taking responsibility for that and seeing how we're participating in that and how we can transmute and dissolve that from a place of really allowing that within ourselves, and not just rejecting that and doing something to bring us security or a power strive for protection or control. So with this, like, there's one more thing I want to do. I'm finishing here the full moon talk, so that's the end. But if you want to listen for more, then what I'm gonna do right now, because we have a lot of these planets in Aquarius, if you can say that then all these planets are here, they're gonna activate you personally on a different level. So this would require that you know your birth chart, because wherever they are, and that depends when you have been born basically, and you can look at your own chart, or you can reach out to an astrologer, then you can see in which house they are. So the houses are these 12 houses here that have been showing, and I will go now quickly through the 12 houses, how these planets in Aquarius will affect you then. So they will bring in more the Aquarian or the Uranian energy. So let's go through the 12 houses quickly. I will not spend too much time. You can inquire personally more if you are interested in that. But remember, I'm not working on personal readings until the 1st of April. So when we have, this is the first house, okay? This will be connected with Aries. So if you have all the Aquarian energy or the planets over your first house, this would increase your quality of self-love. This will bring more independence into your life, that you becoming actually really active in what's true for you. You're not honoring any limitations and you want to break free. So that's really what then this year, really, since the 21st of December last year, have been activating. So this will stay for right now very alive, and for next month as well, and then we will move on a little bit out of the Aquarian energy. But still, remember, Saturn will still stay there for 2.5 years and Jupiter for 1 year. So what we also can say, which also then is for every sign, we have Saturn and Aquarius. So Saturn is much more this energy of like, I need to work on something, I need to figure out what are my limitations, like how do I actually have to find out how I have to let go. And it's much more this perseverance, this inner kind of like, where do I have to strive or like do the work on a perseverant level? So it's much more the effort involved in that. And then simultaneously we have Jupiter, which is like, let's just break free, let's just break out. Let's say Saturn in a relationship would be, let's work on the relationship, let's talk together, let's go to a consultant, let's figure out the therapy. Jupiter would say, you know what, I've outgrown this relationship, goodbye, I'm just going to the next man or woman. You could apply the same for your workplace. You could apply the same for your family relationship with your father or your mother. So what I want to basically say is like when you have Saturn and Jupiter, it's like, well, let's work on it, but I also want to be free with Jupiter. And so it's like this energy of like, I want to stay, I want to move. So you feel kind of stuck, but on the same time, this is an amazing combination because it's like, I know where I want to go, Jupiter, I feel that's where I'm driving, but hey, let me explain to you why. Let's work on it and explain. That's where I'm going, but I'm just trying to integrate. I'm trying to work on it. I'm not just running away and just taking the new. I'm actually bringing it and trying to into my daily life. And so whenever you actually are born with Jupiter and Saturn together, is an amazing combination because it brings you a drive, but you also have to recognize how to go there day by day and not just make a quick jump into another country, basically. So this applies for every house, what I just explained, the dynamic. So remember, first house is like this autonomy, basically. Second house, if you have all the Aquarian energies over the second house, you perhaps feel really innovative on like creating some more sense of work or value, something that you feel that brings you security or that you want to sell, that you want to step into and produce with your own hands or may bring out on the market. If you have it in the third house, Gemini, this becomes like this genius that hasn't been recognized in you, this hungry mind that actually can learn and teach himself. And you become probably very active online on new programs and how you can, don't need to study on a PhD for 4 years. You can just teach yourself everything and you're just learning it online and you're finding it wherever you need and accumulating a whole unique perspective and your own approach. If you have it in Cancer, then the Uranian energy makes you feeling basically free from wherever you're living. So it's kind of you're at home where your heart lives. And it's almost like you are, like nobody is your family, really, like your family is where you are living right now. So it's kind of this breaking free from any constraint, like from your family or from kind of your hometown. And it's this time where you want to move town, where you want to break free, you want to expand your horizon and feel a new sense of belonging because the belonging is not to a physical place anymore. If you have it in the fifth house, then it's in Leo. Then the Aquarian energy is going to be very strong in that domain and you probably feel really attracted to just play. And there's a romanticism, there is a flirtatiousness, there's just you want to enjoy life suddenly from a new perspective where you just want to feel like different or like special, you want to be seen. So you do silly things that you maybe have not done before and tasting life and really enjoying it. And perhaps depending on the personality, this might be difficult for you. There might be some insecurities on that or you overdoing it. So you see, so there's always these two domains. If you have it in the sixth house in Virgo, then there is also capacity there for really bringing in healing in your life, seeing all patterns, all addictions, all pain showing up and how you can be more caring for yourself, more gentle, more soft, and finding a different approach and a different way of relating to that side in you. Also, it's like work-wise, you can bring in new capacities, new ways of thinking, remote working, maybe even like a whole different efficiency or approach of your work, understanding that domain. If you have it in the seventh house in Libra, and then you perhaps note some compatible right now in a relationship. That doesn't mean that you don't want to be in a relationship, you just want to be free. So it's basically this open freedom approach where you want to be in free loving and you just basically can feel that you are free wherever you are landing, and that there are no responsibilities or requirements needed to express your own love, and that will bring in your own struggle. If you just do that openly, and how you're seen, and the whole interaction with the other will be highlighted, and has a lot to learn. If you have all the Aquarian energy over your 8th house, you become much more fascinated to go into retreat, to understand dying, the process of dying, and the process, or the word of like something coming to an end, and or like who are you actually, and what does that bring up into your life, this change and letting go and dying and being reborn on an emotional and mental, and therefore like a spiritual level, and not so much on a physical level necessarily, but that something all needs to be seen, and you therefore need to really go deep to see that and to let that go. And if you have it over the 9th house, then perhaps your worldview, your approach to philosophies, to religion, to an ideology really gonna be questioned. And there's this saying, omnism, like when you understand every religion has meaning, but you don't belong to anything. It's this kind of understanding, kind of different approaches. Or like, let's say food is an easy one, like you love food, but you see that there are different flavors, and depending on the day, there's not like one kitchen that's the right, cooking the right food for you. It depends on your mood, on your day, on your place, and therefore everything is wonderful. And there's such an openness that Aquarian energy brings in, of like dropping any boundaries or ideals and ideology. If you're going into the 10th house and Capricorn, then it's much more this like, let's say, entrepreneurism, where you starting to have ideas of how you can bring out innovation, or like a new approach in life, a new stepping up to how you can work hard and believe in change, and make a difference in the world. Also what you can give back and empower others. So this will be kind of a whole new approach. It's almost like a spiritual entrepreneurship that you're starting to develop. If you have it over the 11th house, which is Aquarius itself, then this might make you very eccentric if you have that in that domain, in the sense of that you feel like, well, there are no real friends. Everything that counts is the connection within myself, or with myself, and it's about that feeling for freedom and independency, and that you just have to be a free bird and follow that calling, and that you have to find touch with your own vision, and that vision you want to share, and that makes you maybe feel very alone at times, because you cannot really just share with one person. It's just that constant interaction, but ultimately you have to be true to yourself to find what's true in you, and that means you might be a little alone. But that doesn't mean that you are lonely. It's just that you are a little bit alone. And when we have then the last house, the 12th house, that would be then Pisces. And if you have a lot of Aquarian energy in Pisces, then it's kind of this dissolution. Like, it's a very spiritual approach, where we could say you go into retreat, but I would even say more, you are becoming aware of your unconscious. So it's almost like you haven't even known that this domain is there in you. And that can be also like old pains, all memories, all traumas, all the emotions that haven't been digested, and they're suddenly coming to the surface, and you need to kind of step back. And that doesn't mean you have to go in complete retreat, but you need to kind of be more alone by yourself to give room for these sensations and emotions that you are kind of almost feel like, why I am the way that I am. And is there something wrong with me, and where does it come from? And that needs time to feel into that, to then emotionally sense that, and to allow that and honor that, to really then feel again that you can be yourself by opening up. So this is kind of the 12 houses. I hope you have it has been helpful for yourself. I know a lot of people are asking me to do that. This is something I love to do, but I don't like to make a pattern out of that, or habit that every video I will do that. It requires a lot of time, and also for me to feel into an energy. I love to do that, but I will just explore naturally and just out of the moment if that's something that I want to go into. So like always, I will surprise you with new content, with different approaches, and I hope to keep you interested. So thank you so much for your time, really. That's what we all are most aware of, for your attention and for your feedback and for your encouragement. And I just send you a lot of love in your own journey. I hope that you can bring in that connection with yourself and really believe more and more in you, because we are all human beings out of stardust, and therefore we all from the same consciousness, and we all actually just craving belonging, love and care. And we all actually, or maybe some of us, yeah, I think all of us are in some level wounded, but we all actually want to bring in our uniqueness in that lifetime. And I really wish you that you can shine your sparkleness and your beauty and, yeah, make an effect in the world. All right, thank you so much and goodbye.